everybody, this is Kate at the Library of Whispers, and today I am going to read you the fourth part of my ghost story, Hallows House. It is called The Clock. After Rachel had taken a couple of snaps on her phone of the Elizabeth Pike portrait, we followed Sue back up to the reading room. She was sat at one of the oak tables with a large leather-bound book in front of her. "So here it is," she said, as we sat down next to her. She carefully turned over the heavy front cover and traced her finger slowly down the first page of text. "Ah, so the book was published in 1901 by Clarence Griffin and Son Limited, publishers of London." "Clarence Griffin," I said. "Another Griffin, a brother of the Reverend, perhaps?" "We've heard that name before, Mum," said Rachel, reaching into her shopping bag and pulling out the brown envelope. She sifted through the various papers inside and brought out the newspaper report of Elizabeth Pike's engagement ball. "Yes," she continued, "the four brothers of the Reverend Charles, all attended the ball. Remember, Mum, you noted how all the brothers' names began with a C." "Ah, yes, I did," I said. "Remind me who they were." "Okay, so we have Lieutenant Cornelius Griffin, must have been in the army presumably. Dr. Cuthbert Griffin, a medical man. It says here he attended to the lady who took ill on that evening. And, here we go, Clarence Griffin. So we now know that he was a book publisher, or at least became one. Then the last brother is Cecil Griffin, but no more clues about him." Sue got across. "Well, I think I may have your last Griffin brother's occupation here," she said, pushing the heavy book towards Rachel. "Look at the frontispiece. It's a rather lovely painting of the old hall by Cecil Griffin, Esquire." "Wow, he was an artist then," said Rachel, staring at the picture. Sue nodded and pushed back her chair. "Presumably," she said. "Look, you take the book and I'll go and retrieve my collections register. See if we have anything here in the stacks by Cecil Griffin." "Thanks, Sue," I said, as she wandered away. I looked over at Rachel, who was now leafing through the hefty volume. "You know, Mum," she said as she flipped through the pages, "I need to start making notes. This is getting complicated. All these names, family connections, possible murderers." With that, she looked up at me and grinned. It was me who rolled my eyes this time. "Yes, you should," I said. "It'd be easier to keep track of." "Mum," said Rachel, interrupting suddenly, "there's a short bit here in the back about our house." "Oh, wow," I answered. "What does it say?" "Well, first of all there's a drawing of it. Look." She turned the open book towards me, and I peered at the image of the house. Our house. "It's a lot grander looking here," I said, smiling. "How fascinating, though." "Yes, it was obviously drawn when it was all one house. But look, Mum, the front door in the picture is our front door. Next door's entrance must have been added later," said Rachel. "What does it say underneath?" I asked. Rachel turned the book back around to face her. It says, "Hallows House, Orchard Road, Monk's Ferry, 1900, drawn by Cecil Griffin, Esquire." "Another picture by Cecil," I said. "Did he do all the illustrations in this book?" "Not sure," said Hallows house, built in the grounds of the Old Hall in 1873 by Ebenezer and Joseph Pike after the death of their sister Elizabeth. A dedication stone to her memory can be found on the 17th century fountain, which originally stood in the orchard of the Old Hall and now forms part of the Hallows house estate. Estate, I exclaimed. We only have a small back garden, and I haven't seen a fountain. I wonder if it's next door. It must be, said Rachel, looking up. Have you met our neighbours yet? No, not yet. I haven't seen anybody next door, coming or going. Have you? I asked. I did see an old guy going into number 7 the other day, she said. We should probably invite him around for tea, make his acquaintance, I said. For tea? Rachel laughed. Mum, you sound like you're from the 19th century yourself. What's wrong with tea? I laughed. I'll make cake. Rachel grinned. Well, one way or another, we need to speak to him. He might know more about the history of the house and the fountain. I'd love to see that. I nodded in agreement, and she looked back down at the book and continued to read. The house is currently occupied by the Messrs. Pike and retains a grand drawing room, library, other smaller reception rooms, 7 bedrooms, servants' quarters and wine cellar. Rachel looked up again. Mum, we have a wine cellar, she said. No, I answered, smiling. We might have a wine cellar. That also might be next door. It'll be just our luck if the neighbour has all the best bits, said Rachel glumly. I laughed. Well, we know we have the grand drawing room at least, I said, even if it isn't as grand as it used to be. Rachel smiled and returned to the book. Well, that's pretty much all it says about the house, really. She turned to the next page slowly, and out fell a loose piece of paper, which dropped fluttering to the floor. Rachel bent over and picked it up. Anything interesting? I asked. Some kind of handwritten notes or something, she said. Oh, actually, this is interesting. It looks as though somebody was here before us, looking at this book and doing some of their own research on our house. I'll see if I can read it. The writing's a bit small and disjointed. It says, Hallows house, inherited by Sylvester Scullion after death of Pike Brothers, 1920. Now, there's another name that rings a bell, I intervened. Rachel rummaged in the brown parcel again and brought out another newspaper clipping. I think he was at Elizabeth's funeral, said Rachel, scanning the report. Yep, here it is. Servants of the Old Hall, including Mr. Sylvester Scullion, house steward. House steward, I said, and he inherited Hallows house, all of it. Well, he must have got on well with them, I laughed, and Rachel nodded in agreement. I suppose, since the brothers didn't marry, there were no children to inherit the house. In fact, no descendants, not even any nieces and nephews, said Rachel. So I wonder if he got everything. Scullion, I mean. All their property, including the Old Hall and the grounds. Do the notes say anything about it? I asked. Not that I can see, said Rachel, reading. It's a bit disjointed, but it goes on to say, H. House, divided 1921. Scullion family reside number 9. Other side rented. Current occupant number 9. Beatrice Scullion, niece. Interesting, I said. Are those notes dated by any chance? Rachel turned the paper over Hallow's End, November 2017. I told you, Mum, those fogs get everywhere, said Rachel. At least we can be pretty certain that whoever wrote these notes did so a year ago. And that Beatrice Scullion was almost certainly the last occupant of our house before us, I added. And that the note-taker, whoever he or she was, had had a blooming good breakfast, added Rachel, laughing. At that moment, Sue returned with the collections register under her arm. You both sound as though you're enjoying your research, she said, smiling. Oops, said Rachel. Hope we're not being too loud. It's just that everywhere we go, we're finding references to the name Fogg. We've just found this flyer in the book. She passed it to Sue, who took a look. Ah, she said, the cafe up the road. Nice cakes, she said, smiling. She passed the flyer back to Rachel. Keep it if the notes on the back are useful. Thanks. We will, said Rachel. Sue sat down and opened her collections register, which she'd marked with a few scraps of paper. Well, she said, we do hold a number of items by the artist Cecil Griffin. I think the first one will be particularly interesting to you. The oil portrait of Elizabeth Pike that we've just viewed downstairs was painted by Cecil and is dated December 1872. Wow, said Rachel, that's only a few weeks after she died. Right, said Sue, although it is more likely that the portrait was begun before her death, perhaps to mark a special occasion. It looks to me as though it was modelled from life. Also, these paintings could take months to complete. Meaning that he finished it after her death, I asked. Yes, I think that seems probable, answered Sue. Her engagement, said Rachel. That has to be the special occasion you're talking about. Her impending wedding to Cecil's brother, the Reverend Charles. How sad that she never saw it completed, I added. We sat quietly for a few moments, pondering the thought. So, said Sue, breaking the silence, we also have a few other things. A sketchbook, a couple of journals, and a few loose drawings. You might want to see them. Journals, exclaimed Rachel. Now that could be very interesting. There might be something in there about Elizabeth's death. It's possible, said Sue, looking at the dates in the register. They loosely cover the period from 1871 up to 1901, when, according to the notes here, he died. Would you like me to get them? Yes, definitely, answered Rachel. I checked my watch. Look, Rach, I'm going to leave you to get on with this, I said. I really should be getting back to the house. The plumber is coming around to connect the washing machine about 2. Yeah, sure, Mum. I'll see you later, said Rachel. I said my goodbyes to Sue and left the library. I wandered back through the town and around past Catlow cottages where Stanley Fogg had told me he lived. I thought about knocking at number 2, Stanley's home, for that chat he'd offered me, but thought better of it. The plumber came first. The chat could wait. I then made my way down Orchard Road and stood for a little while outside our new home, taking in the house with fresh eyes and musing on the information we'd learned about the former Hallows house. The wind had picked up, and I was just about to go in when the door of number 7 opened, and an elderly man wrapped in a thick overcoat came out. He turned and acknowledged my presence with a nod. Hello, I said. I'm your new neighbour. I know, he answered, somewhat bluntly. My name is, I began, but he waved his hand at me impatiently. I don't wish to be rude, but I'm in a hurry, he said, locking his front door and and shouted back, "Will it be Bakewell tart?" A bit flummoxed, I replied back, yes, I suppose." "Then I'll be there about 3, he answered, turning and continuing hurriedly on his journey. A few hours later, and Rachel sent me a text to say that she was going for a meal and drinks with her library colleagues and would probably be back late. I sent a text back saying, "No props, see you later, Mom, kiss," and settled myself in for the evening. All was dark outside, and I closed the curtains, turned the television on low, curled up on the sofa, and picked up a home design magazine. I was leafing through the pages, looking for decorating ideas, when all of a sudden I was startled by a loud chiming sound coming from the hallway. "That blooming clock!" I shouted out loud. It was only the second time I'd been aware of it making any sound, the first being 3 days ago, on the evening the stranger had arrived at our front door. I threw my magazine on the coffee table and stood up, determined this time to try and turn it off, or whatever you were supposed to do with these things. I switched on the hallway light and looked at the clock. It was quite imposing, about 7 foot tall and made out of a dark reddish wood that looked like mahogany. It had a square brass face which was obscured by a dirty glass door, and underneath that a long wooden door which I presumed held its workings. I realised that I was going to need a torch if I was going to investigate further, and went through to the kitchen. Another loud bong made me jump, and I grabbed the torch from the under-sink cupboard and went to face the clock. Using the torch, I could see more clearly the detail in the fine wooden carving. Despite my annoyance, I had to be honest, it really was a beautifully made thing. At the top were 2 carved wooden scrolls, like a swan's neck, and in the middle of that a roaring lion's head, complete with mane and teeth, and a couple of carved roses above that. There were other decorative designs carved into the wood, but I would need a chair to get a better look at them. So standing precariously atop the kitchen chair, with the torch in my mouth, I opened the glass door, protecting the brass clock face. Underneath the fancy hour and minute hands were the decoratively scribed words, "Daniel O'Neill, Dublin," and the year 1757. "Wow," I said to the clock. "I had no idea you were that old." It didn't reply, which I was grateful for. It had already half scared me to death twice this evening. Above this were 2 holes, which I deduced had something to do with the winding mechanism. If that was the case, then why was the clock still making loud bonging sounds every now and then? I thought. It can't have been wound up for a long time. I decided that it was obviously faulty. I was just about to get down from the chair when the front door suddenly opened and a rush of cold air entered the hallway. I jumped again. "Mom, what on earth are you doing up there?" It was Rachel. "Hell, Rach, I've had enough shocks tonight. Do you have to come in like that?" I said. "Like what?" she asked, looking perplexed. "I mean, do you have to be so loud?" "Never mind. Anyway, I thought you were going to be late," I said. "Yeah, me too. Doreen had a migraine, so we decided to call it a day," she answered. "Mum, what are you doing up there?" I realised that I was still standing on the chair. I got down and carried the chair back into the kitchen. Rachel followed me, still waiting for an answer. "Oh, I was trying to turn the clock off. It went off again a couple of times before. Scared me half to death," off, said Rachel. Is it possible to turn off a wind-up clock? Rachel, I have no idea, I said. I was trying to work it out. Have you opened up the pendulum case? She asked. Since when did you become an expert in 18th century clocks? I said. I'm only trying to help, Mum, she said, irritated by my sarcasm. There might be something in there, a switch or something. She bent down, took my torch, and used it to peer closely at the tiny lock in the pendulum case door. Well, it's locked, she said bluntly, turning towards me. Then, with a mischievous grin, she added, However, the key is in the lock, which means it won't stay locked for much longer. Rachel, seriously, my nerves are stretched, I scolded. Just open the damn thing and let's see if we can turn it off. Mom, chill, seriously, said Rachel, as she turned the tiny brass key in the lock. The door opened, and she peered inside. The torch picked up two long brass pendulums, which looked as though they hadn't moved for many years. Apart from that, the cabinet was empty. The only other thing of note was a distinctly musty odour emanating from inside. Smells, said Rachel, holding her nose. Poke about a bit with your hand, I said. See if there's anything else in there. She screwed up her face and tentatively placed one hand inside the clock. There might be spiders, she said, looking back at me uncomfortably. Well, they're all dead spiders by now. I don't think this clock has been opened for a long time, if that smell is anything to go by, I said. That doesn't reassure me, said Rachel, but she carried on with her careful investigation. Anything? I asked after a minute. Actually, there is something here, in the bottom, she answered. It's not a switch or anything, but there's something sticking up, a bit of wood, like a tiny handle. Let me pull it. In fact, Mum, can you hold the torch so that I can get a good grip on this? I took the torch and shone it down towards the bottom of the open clock case. Rachel tugged on the piece of raised wood, and a small panel came away in her hands, revealing a hidden space below. This is probably where all the spiders are congregated, she said, wincing. I stood silently with the torch focused on the secret compartment as Rachel reached in again and began to pull out what looked like some bound documents. She stood up with the bundle in her hands, and we both looked at it and then at each other. I shone the torch on the top of the pile, and Rachel read out the words written in a fine, decorative hand on the cardboard cover. Property of Miss Beatrice Scullion. Confidential. And that ends chapter 4 of my ghost story Hallows House. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will join me again for the next part. This has been Kate at the Library of Whispers.